fuck. I don't give a fuck.
You said you were gonna rape her.
I didn't say I was going to rape her. I was like, I'm not a rapist or something like that.
Oh, okay.
I think it's funny to say I'm not a rapist on Tinder. Yeah. Why isn't that not funny?
It's funny.
But anyway,
so it's only funny given the context of that being a complete misconception.
But she seemed to take that joke well, and she was like, I don't know.
She seemed to.
No, well, she skimmed over it, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. So my point is, she didn't see it. She didn't give you the green light. She ignored it or didn't see it. So then you not only stepped over one light, you stepped over two. Because what did you say next?
God,
to this poor innocent girl
talking about. God.
What'd you do?
She was talking about.
Uh-huh.
She was talking about her parents. And then she talked about. And then I said something about my parents. And then she said something about her mom or my mom. She's like, your mom sounds nice. Then I said, my mom's dead.
Right. Now let me just stop here. My
mom's not dead, by the way.
Let me stop here. Now, Niall, you told this woman. So first you sped through the green light or the red light. You sped through the red light, made a rape joke, and she didn't even see it or ignored it. Then you sped up.
It was more of where the line is. I thought she was beyond the line of the rape joke.
Niall, so, was this another psychological manipulation?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
You're the American Psycho. Yes. Now what happened next, Niall?
Then,
what was her response to you saying your mother was dead?
She goes, I am so sorry to hear that. And then I was like, just kidding. No, it wasn't like that.
It was pretty. You literally said ha 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 in all caps. I saw the text. You said that. You did say ha 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 in all caps.
But okay, like I sound like a fucking like psycho here, but you gotta understand there was context involved. We were talking for hours, and we hit it off very well.
Did you ask her if she was regular?
I didn't just. This wasn't flavored. This wasn't straight away off the bat. We had lots of jokes and stuff.
Was she reduced calorie flavored?
What?
What the fuck are you talking about?
Jemima.
Oh no, she was not. She was this nice girl. She was a very, very nice girl.
Okay, Niall. Now explain. So to a lot of you people, that would seem inappropriate by itself.
Okay.
But the woman's reaction was particularly offended because.
Okay, so the last thing I said, oh, like it was a joke, but I delivered it better. I have more confidence in myself than to say that I just said lol JK or whatever. But anyway, she came back with saying, well, that's not.
Her mother is sick.
Her mother is very, very sick.
Now, what did you say? This one gets baffling, Jeff. This one gets baffling.
Okay, all right.
So a lot of people would say, oh, I'm so sorry. What Niall said was, oh, don't worry. My mother was really sick too, but she got better. And then her response was, oh, my mother is definitely gonna die, and she has a year left to live. She has stomach cancer.
This is fucked
up. So it's like, Jeff, if I came to you and said, my dog is sick, you're like, oh, it's dying. You're like, oh, don't worry, my dog is totally fine. It's completely fine. You really were like, yeah, oh no, I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry that happened. My mother's totally fine.
Let's just. God. All of this is going on while Niall has a heart on in his pants.
Yeah, a big fucking heart on pulsating through his pants.
You're talking about dying mothers with a heart on.
A big purple erection.
No, I don't have a heart on at every given moment.
You had a big purple erection.
You had one in your head at least.
No, I had a potential heart on.
You were skimming.
No, I'm just kidding.
You were skimming through pictures.
No.
Thinking of your dead mother dying on her last breath.
Oh my god. No.
Be good to my daughter. Treat her well, please.
She happens to know what Sleepy Cabin is, by the way.
The one does. The yellow skin one, right?
Jeff! Man, this happens to be the only one.
I'm a bad person.
Of all the ones I've met, this happens to be the only one I actually like.
It is kind of me, but at least the mother will.
In all fairness,
the mother will be listening.
All you said were nice things about her.
Yeah, like my mother's fine, yours is dying of cancer.
But anyway,
can I just say what you said? She's a nice, respectable young lady, unlike that dirty horse slut that I fucked and ate a sandwich with and left.
Yeah.
Left on the curb.
Fuck your cats, ate a sandwich.
This one was nice.
No, that's not what I said.
It's close.
You said. Well, if your mother has a Subway sandwich, her cancer will go away.
Okay, like I do acknowledge, like I do have a little bit of a Tinder problem right now, but I'm still going to do it because I don't care. Like,
let me ask. Can I ask one more thing?
What?
Are you gonna put the dead dying mother like line in your pocket for later. Like
no, that one. I think.
Is that? Are you gonna say that? Is that your second?
I think I'm gonna retire that joke. I think that one. I think I'm gonna hang potential.
I'm just saying for like. I think that getting sympathy and you know.
Like especially after said my mom is dying.
You should just put those together for a big super.
That was only because I couldn't react. I didn't know how to react, and I felt terrible.
Open up girl things with that. You're supposed to use it against bullies.
You need to know.
Fuck your mom, and you're like, my mom's dead.
You need to know the context.
Unless the boy that makes fun of
the context makes it a lot more like a lot more.
Bully.
The context makes it. Like more understandable, but anyway.
Yeah.
So, like, what I was saying was, I felt like a huge sleazeball after all this. But then I found out that my ex got a boyfriend, and I'm like, fuck that, and then I'm just gonna continue for a while.
Okay.
That's it. That's all I was gonna say.
There's this other small little element of this I'd like to explore.
Sure.
I was actually in contact with a few of these people. I think two.
Ah, yes, Ayanda. Poor fucking
Ayanda. No, a different girl too. There was a different girl.
You're talking on his
Bill Murray
account
girl. Not Bill Murray, fucking John C. Reilly girl.
John C. Reilly girl was one.
So the previously mentioned John C. Reilly hideous piece that these guys threw tomatoes at.
You were the one who called her hideous piece.
I didn't call her anything.
I called her John C. Reilly.
I didn't call her anything. You said
she fucking looks like John C. If you got a scope of his head and put a girl wig on her,
curly hair.
What? Chris was making fun of her. I was nothing but nice. But anyways,
you were like fuck me over the phone.
Speak of the devil, the so-called thief. Wants to know if I can go out to her house.
Yeah, so she can steal from you again.
Update.
Yeah, but anyway,
you should do it and steal the money back.
No, I'm not going into Philly tonight. Fuck that shit. All right, so anyway, what was I gonna find? Oh yeah, Ayanda. Okay, so there was this lady. Okay, she did have quite a resemblance to Aunt Jemima, and she
had you said she had about 10 things of syrup in her cupboard.
Yeah, well, I didn't meet this girl. This is not. Oh my God,
you said you went to her house and ate.
That's a different girl. Not all black people are the same. There's a Beyonce one, and then there's an Aunt Jemima one.
You did say you fucked Will Smith at her house and ate pancakes with her. You did say that.
I did not.
You did. You were telling me about the one girl you came in and you stood in the doorway and you're like, "Welcome to Earth," and then you two fucked.
Well, listen, that's not a bad line. Okay, but anyway, this girl, I have no intention of meeting her.
What's her name?
Poor old Ayanda is what I call
Aunt Ayanda.
Aunt Ayanda. Well, she's very unfortunate looking, and now I have to
looking.
I have to preface.
Okay. Yeah, hold on now. You can't just say that. Move on.
I have to preface this.
Unfortunate looking.
I have to preface this with this was matched because I do the swipe right thing. And anyway, I go, Zach, she messaged me saying something like, "Hey baby," or something, and then I let Zach take the pilot seat, and
I did a nosedive immediately.
Yeah, and
but what's weird is I didn't hit the ground.
Still waiting for this.
I hit more sky, my friend.
Pulled up.
It's taking a lot longer.
I didn't pull up. The wind blew me up, Jeff. I wanted to go down. I pushed harder and harder to go to the ground. I couldn't.
You were in a flat spin.
I was a jihadist pilot trying to hit the ground while the birds in the wind were pushing me back up. Go down,
Yeah. Well, shit.
Yeah, this is still loading, so
I couldn't hit the Trade Center, unfortunately.
I don't know why this is loading so much. It never takes this long.
Or the Pentagon, whatever you want to say.
Let's just say you were aiming for that field out in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. We can make that joke. We're in Pennsylvania, guys. That's fine.
Yeah, all right.
We have permission.
Yeah, all right. We're in Pennsylvania. We have permission to make that.
My dad was standing at picking daisies when that plane smashed into him. So I can make that joke.
Can we talk about Swain's fucking flight simulator adventure?
Should we say who Michael Swain is?
Okay, Swain is a guy on Newgrounds who's really cool, right? He's just an artist, but
he goes by the Swain.
Yeah, but he had a fucking really funny story where it was like, when he was like younger and the World Trade Center thing happened, he was so shocked and appalled and upset that his only form of
grief or like getting over
coping was going on Flight Simulator and doing it in Flight Simulator over and over.
He recreated 9/11 over and over on the day. On the day.
Yeah, he was shocked and upset, so he did that.
He's such a weird fucking guy. He's so tall and dashing.
He's
and
the most handsome man,
confident,
on the planet.
but then he's got this trollish, evil.
He's a mischievous dick. He kicked the chair out from underneath me before and pushed me onto the ground.
I saw that happen. I guess it was one of the places.
I couldn't believe it.
Can I mention one thing Swain did to me?
Yeah.
He was at the Newgrounds office, and I came in the next morning, and I couldn't find my fucking computer mouse. It took me an hour, and I'm like, where is it? There was all of a sudden there was a blow up doll with like it had like one of these mouths you could like I guess
you can put your dick in.
Yeah. My mouth was shoved in his mouth and taped and duct taped over his mouth. And it was shoved into the pool table. I'm like, what the fuck?
Swin's cool.
Yeah, he is kind of cool, but I'm just like
working right now.
I'm just like he'll tell me stories like he'll just go into Minecraft games and bury like pigs under people's houses, and so they'll just oink forever, and people will never be able to find them and like ruin their game. I don't know what the fuck his problem is.
Okay, I'm on Tinder now, so I can find Zach's interaction with poor Ayanda.
I can tell you more stories. Yeah.
Wait.
We played Red Dead Redemption.
Let's get Swain on a podcast.
Dynamite under my horse when like an asshole.
I opened the conversation with, "Hey, stupid." She replied with, "Hey, what the name calling?" Then I said, "Haha, sorry. I just thought it was a funny way to start a conversation." Because I said that because I felt bad because she actually seemed to get offended. But anyway, it kept going on, and then
my logic here was, I want to see if I can write like a fucking psychopath. I'll give you guys the exact transcript so you can see how I wrote stuff, because how I wrote stuff was like a fucking maniac wrote it.
Yeah. So
I tried to scare her away and it didn't work.
So anyway, one day she hit me up and she said, "Hey." Then I said, "Hey, Ayanda." And she said, "How are you doing?" And now this is where Zach took the pilot seat.
Captain Dickhead, you can take this away.
Before I begin, I have to say that when Niall looks at men he says, "Damn, what a sexy man. I am a gay homosexual who likes to kiss men because I'm queer." And when he sees little boys they are like,
"Please fuck me, I want your dick even though it's illegal. Papa now, I want that weird ass yam dick up my little cute butt."
And he's like, "Okay, spread your cheeks, little guy. Anyway, on to the chat."
How are you?
Good. Mostly fucking horny. My dick is red and pulsating. How are you?
Oh, really? I'm okay, just bored at this hour.
I'm bored too, which is why I've begun stroking my big fat purple cock and squeezing my hand from bottom to top, trying to extract cum. Or at least precum. Would you like to hear more? You hot, ebony, princess.
I would like to hear more. Do you have a kick or want to exchange numbers?
It's Kick.
It's an instant messaging service. So she goes, so then Zach said,
"Let us exchange sex talk here. So, what would you do to my white fucking motherfucking cock, bitch tits?"
Then I can tell you everything I would do to your big throbbing dick.
Ooh.
Listen, baby bag, I will describe it for you for the time being until I can take a picture of my tamed cock. Okay, it is 6 inches uncut, but there is a mole. I hope it's not cancerous, the doctor did not say. Other than that, you'll love my fucking white penis and hairy fucking goddamn balls.
And then she said,
uncut? That's something I've actually never experienced. How are you so such? I'm going to love it.
and then Zach said, "Yeah, you are." And that's pretty much where it went.
That's where it ends. And then Niall added her on Kick, but it was.
Yeah, I felt a little bit.
Yeah, we just deleted it.
We didn't want to. I didn't want it. Okay, but then she goes. But then a day later, she texts me again. She goes, like on Tinder, and she said, "Hello. I thought we were going to talk how much I want my lips on your fat white cock." And then 2 days after that, she just said, "Hey," and then that was. and then she gave up.
Now there was one other lady I talked to, which is the
John C. Reilly lady.
John C. Reilly woman.
The John C. Reilly lady. This all happened before Chris. Me and Chris.
Yeah, this is previous to.
This is actually. Yeah, we didn't even know about this. Like this.
No,
just.
Have I ever saved the picture to show you before that? Like, no.
No, like I haven't done it either. Well, I've done it once for you. But what you call it? And it's so baffling because there's so many girls on it. But anyway, me and Zach were at a restaurant the other day, and I go, "Zach, I think it's time for you to take over the pilot seat again." When John C. Reilly lady said, "Very cute," and
Captain Dickhead, you can also take this away.
Take it away, as you
fucking
will.
freak, you stupid idiot.
Very cute.
Close to coming. Keep going.
Yeah.
Then she said,
Sad face, not saving any for me?
and then Zach said,
Tee-hee, mine, gobble gobble.
and she never replied. But this is what she looked like.
Let's do that again.
Go to the last picture. The last picture.
That's another picture.
Last picture.
She's like,
That one. That's the best one.
God, we sound like fucking assholes.
She looks like John C. Reilly.
face she's making. Like,
Okay.
who uploads
She looks
that?
like Steve fucking Bruce.
No! She looks like fucking Dana Carvey, dude.
Oh my
Look at
God.
her eyes. Look at her eyes. She looks like Dana Carvey. Show Jeff.
I'm sorry, dude.
She has Dana Carvey's eyes, dude. She has this.
I know, because there's like light coming from underneath.
Oh, she looks like a ghoul.
She does have teeth.
Let me see that again. Let me see that again.
Dude, she looks like the dude from fucking Raging.
And then
Look at him. Just look at him again. With that, thinking of him.
oh, she's only 32. She looks 58. Oh, poor lady.
It's gonna kill me.
Only,
Can't upload
the
that.
only sound. Okay,
Oh my
we can't
God.
upload that. Make a sound for what you think she would sound like in that picture. That's it.
Like
I
that
think she's
Tim
going,
Allen.
So many room for activities. But she goes,
Wow, you're my best friend. I can't believe you always award.
I'm like Ralph.
she her bio is
My name is Jesse.
I'm the
proud mother of a 1-year-old son.
I am a divorced single mom.
That's
the
it.
most
Of course.
awesome kid I could ever ask for. Anyway, yeah, so that's Tinder for you.
Well done. You should meet up with her.
You should
Just don't call me when you're stuck at her house.
No.
And with that, fuck you.
That was the Tinder update. Join us next time on Sleepycast. My mother has a wonderful recipe for cinnamon buns. They're absolutely scrumptious. Goodbye.
Hey everyone, the live show is this Saturday, February 27th. Go to creeklic.com for more information. Henry's back in town. Our first one in a couple months coming out. We'll see you there.
There's no place to escape to.
This is the last podcast.
On the left. That's when the cannibalism started.
What was that?
If Obama killed Scalia, why didn't he just leave a naked dead boy in there with him as well?
I don't know. Maybe they ran out. Yeah.
And like a fake diary just being like, Filipino cum. It's like, oh, please cover my Pop-Tart.
Agent Roger, you brought the dead boy, right? God damn it, Agent Roger, you're off the force.
I left it at the Popeyes.
All right, welcome to the last podcast on the left, everyone. I am Ben Kissel, as always, staring at the beautiful Marcus Parks.
Hey.
With us, finally back from disgusting Los Angeles.
I was trying to fake the 9/11 crash, but I was going to drop off the passports next to the World Trade Center, but oh God, I left it at the Dunkin' Donuts. Oh, these slippery fingers of mine.
Is that what you were discussing while you were there speaking with models and things like that?
Oh yeah, making money.
I think you were making less friends somehow.
Yes.
You went there with 0 friends and you came back with -5 friends.
No, I spent a great time with Mary and Andrew Parker. We went out and we saw the Nicole Brown Simpson house, and it was, I'll say, fun. We had fun, but then we showed up. So we showed up to the Nicole Brown Simpson house. We were looking for the proper address,
Right.
So we're sitting there and we're like, okay, should we take some pictures? And we're like, okay, yeah, we're gonna pose like Nicole Brown. We're gonna pose like Ron
Like the
Goldman.
two victims of a murder.
Heinous murder. We're having fun.
Okay.
We're having fun. And then all of a sudden, this woman comes out of her car. And we're like, okay, we're about to get shut down. And it was just some normal kind of suburbanite woman, like full updo, like dressed like she just come from the office. She was just like, she's like, which one of these is the Nicole Brown Simpson house?
Oh
we're
my
like, this is
God.
awesome. We're all like this.
It is so nice the world treats death with such respect. Yeah. Anyway, time for Dean Coral Part 3.
Well, before we get back into the story of Dean Kroll, we're going to talk a little bit about sexual sadism.
Oh, it's sadist. I thought it was sexual sadist, but I was thinking about my life.
No, never do that. You are a sexual sadist.
Oh, I see.
And I think that's a really good name for your comedy album.
Oh, okay, yeah, we'll go with that.
Now, sexual sadism is defined as a paraphilia in which the experience of causing extreme pain, suffering, or humiliation gives the sadist sexual pleasure.
Now, a paraphilia is a sexual predilection that is outside the normal quote-unquote boundaries boundaries of sexuality, correct?
A fetish.
Yes.
The DSM-5 defines, I think, 4 or 5 different paraphilias as a separate mental illness. Sadism, exhibitionism, pedophilia is another one, and then the 6th one is all other philias.
What's the DSM-5?
The DSM-5 is the handbook for mental illness. It's like the guidebook.
It's if you're cuckoo or not. Basically, it goes as a checklist. Like if you go in and you're like, I see a talking rabbit, it tells me to illustrate itself, and I hear radio noises in my head, and I have night sweats. They'll be like, well, you also don't have. Oh, you don't think your feet are too big? You're not quite as schizophrenic.
Right.
You have to go through, you have to like do like there'd be like 9 symptoms of schizophrenia, and you'd have to get like 5 to be then clinically schizophrenic.
For what you just described, I think they flipped to the C's, and you're a cartoonist, which is kind of exciting. Turns out you're just really artistic.
That's the plots of the movie Harvey.
Yes, exactly.
Now, while the behavior of the vast majority of sadists are ultimately harmless, as they're usually able to confine their behavior to consensual experiences with other adults, when combined with antisocial personality disorder, sexual sadism can be responsible for almost unimaginable cruelty. Think BTK. BTK is a perfect example of a sexual sadist that also has anti-personality disorder. These people, it's pretty much any sort of conscience is wiped completely clean.
Right.
With them.
Well, that's the problem with even saying sadism is harmless, is because it so quickly can escalate. Because you're looking at people that discover from a very young age, literally as young as 4 years old, that signs of pain make them sexually aroused. And once that starts, because think about it, it's just been like, I used to use a normal, I guess, quote unquote normal, a cisgendered idea. This is fun. Is that a fun?
No, I hate the word. No, but it's fine. Go on.
But I, the first time I jerked off, it was to Jenny McCarthy on a TV guide. And now I can walk past a TV guide without jerking off easy.
You know what's so amazing is that you were constantly making sigils and you didn't even know it because now you're on television.
Boom.
Boom. So you jerk off on a TV guide at a young age. 15, 20 years later, you get to have
a
some
professional
shows.
television comedian.
That's correct.
But the idea is that, like, so any normal human being, your fantasies escalate. So now it's just like, I like physical sex with a human being because that is what I like.
But this is also, to your point about escalation, this is why people in the BDSM community have such strict rules.
Yeah.
For people that participate that don't know, you think it's all free, willy-nilly, and good times. It's actually very strict.
And someone that has an antisocial personality mixed with sadistic tendencies, like the biggest problem, there's a documentary watch, I believe it's called Interview with a Sexual Sadist. Is that what it's called?
Actually, it's called Truth, Lies, and Sex Offenders and Sadistic versus Non-Sadistic Sex Offenders, created by Anna Salter.
And if you watch this, I mean, first of all, good luck trying to have sex afterwards.
Yeah, or during. I mean, good Lord.
Yeah. It's pretty intense, and we're going to show some clips from that. But these people literally have no empathy. They cannot feel empathy because the idea of empathy would disturb them getting a boner.
So the other thing about the sexual sadist is fantasy. Fantasy plays a gigantic part in sexual sadism. Most of them, the fantasy, it stops at pornography, writing sadistic stories, drawing sadistic type of situations, but some take it into the realm of rape and murder.
It's really interesting. Someone was talking about the natural escalation of sadism as in a child, and they say the way they know it is that, like, you know, they would cry a lot as a baby, and then obviously when the baby's like crying for attention, it was like this weird thing where they would pick up the baby a lot, and it would start like that, and it would all of a sudden just stop crying and just eerily stare at you. And then the other thing is stuff like watching kids draw on like pictures of nude women that they would show them. It's like once they started like in juvenile centers, like kids that were convicted of violent crimes, they were giving them pictures of women, like either like women or men, and be like, you know, draw how you feel, like how you like, you know, like what do these make you feel? And they would draw a woman covered in chains wrapped around her ankles and her like wrists and shit like that. It starts at like 6.
53% of males who are sexual sadists, they report an interest in sexual sadism before the act of 15. It definitely comes on very early. And then once the sexual sadist has crossed the line from just fantasy into rape and or murder, it is extremely difficult, if not impossible, for them to stop, and it only increases. We have a sound clip here from a professed sexual sadist pedophile. He's going to talk to us about escalation. And a warning, this is extremely rough.
I had been fantasizing about killing a victim during the course of rape or molest about 5 or 6 months. All during the course of the molestation of my stepson when I was using the Ziploc, the plastic bag over his head. I had fantasized and thought about killing him, letting him go ahead and suffocate during the process of the molestation. I believe it would have been maybe as short as another month or two, and I would have actually killed him if I was not arrested.
And I was just sad that my dad didn't come to my baseball games.
Right. Yeah.
That is rough. It's rough to joke.
It's very rough to joke about. I mean, this guy, if you watch the full interview with him, it's about 10 minutes long. He talks about he had over 300 victims.
Yes, he is truly a monster. And then you also, like, the way he talks, too, which is very chilling, is how distanced he has made himself from his crimes. And when he's talked about what he did to his stepson, it's absolutely, it's mind-boggling. It's so cruel. It's horrifying. Oh. And we're going to see the same train of thought in Dean Corll, which is why we wanted to start here. Because Marcus and I were talking for a while about, like Dean Corll is now a prototype of a type of killer. Like we see with John Wayne Gacy, we see it's like these boy killers, these guys that like kill for the rush of it. Because that's what they describe in this interview and in other interviews with other pedophiles and sadistic sexual criminals in that interview. They talk about the buzz they get from doing the action is something that they can't replace with drugs. And we were like, why would Dean Corll do it?
As far as the escalation goes, Dean Corll is very similar, or at least one investigator believes that Dean Corll is very similar to John Wayne Gacy, because John Wayne Gacy, as we know, pretty much accidentally killed a boy. And with Dean Corll, one investigator believes that Dean Corll's first murder was probably a cover-up, because a lot of pedophiles, they tend to take great care to not make any sort of physical mark upon the victim.
Because there's also two different types of the sexual offender when it comes to pedophilia, which is sadistic and non-sadistic. The non-sadistic a lot of times believes, because it comes from a chain of molesting, they've been molested as to children, and they believe that's the only way that was the only time they ever received love. Right. And so they view their act as an act of love, where a sadistic criminal like Dean Corll believes that it's the pain is what they're going for.
Right, but they can also eventually justify themselves by saying that the pain is what the kids want.
Yes.
Like, they can eventually get to a point where they have to lie to themselves so much to be able to still do this that they have to say, it's like, well, he's not really screaming.
Yeah.
Like, he's screaming, but it's not really hurting him.
It's like going to the gym.
Yeah, or giving a kid black licorice when they look disgusted and sad, but you're like, they love it. It's really sweet. They can't get enough of black licorice. Sure.
Do you do this?
No, I don't do any of this.
Well, what they think is that possibly Dean, every time he was molesting boys, and we know that he was molesting boys all throughout, and each time these sadistic urges were getting bigger and stronger every single time he was doing it. And one time he possibly went too far, left a noticeable mark, killed the boy to hide the crime, and found out that not only did he very much like it, but he got away with it.
Yes, exactly. And then what we always talk about with every serial killer is that now all of the permissions that he had built into his life to then just force himself into being a serial killer allowed him to do it. And then he finally was just like, okay, now I can finally be me.
Yeah.
Now that I've honed my voice.
Right. He can go direct the next X-Men movie.
Yes.
Hollywood will love him. That's where Dean Corll should have gone.
Now let's get back to Dean Corll's story. And now is when we're going to bring in Dean Corll's second and much more valuable accomplice, Wayne Henley, or Elmer Wayne Henley Jr., if you want to get real text.
He doesn't like the Elmer. He cut the Elmer afterwards.
I'm going to say he made the right choice.
Wayne Henley's a much better stage name.
Wayne Henley sounds like you're in a band. You have wavy hair. You constantly drive in a Corvette. Elmer Wayne Henley?
Sounds like an accomplice to a child murderer.
Or a pig in the back seat. Like, literally not even a person.
No, Wayne, he was originally supposed to be a victim. David Brooks, who you'll remember from the last episode as Dean Corll's first accomplice, had been friends with Wayne for years, and Wayne fit the victim profile to a T.
Buck teeth, rangy, wearing Wranglers. He had long blonde hair, which is true, and then a happy trail.
Kind of looked like Mitch Hedberg, huh?
Yes.
Now, for Wayne Henley, early life was rough, but not the worst that we've ever covered. His mother was strict, but not unreasonably so. His father was an abusive drunk, but not that abusive. And the father left when Wayne was in junior high. He also got in trouble with the law here and there. He had a breaking and entering charge along with assault with a deadly weapon. And like a lot of other serial killers, like Jeffrey Dahmer, Wayne was pretty hardcore alcoholic, hardcore teenage alcoholic. But unlike most of them, Wayne was extremely popular, which made him just the absolute perfect accomplice for Dean.
Because you remember how we described Houston last time as just being like there was roving gangs of kids everywhere, just kind of hanging out. And Wayne was the kind of guy that could travel between a bunch of different packs of kids. And he knew everybody.
And being a raging alcoholic in Texas as a youth, you're just a Texas youth, right? I mean, he didn't stand out as he wasn't the most drunk one at the party.
Well, that's what the Hilligeist family said that's how they noticed Wayne Henley walking around. It said he was always drunkenly kind of like wandering back and forth between houses, going like, "Hi, Mrs. Hilligeist, I hope you're having a good day." And it's just like but that was his hobby. Was drunkenly swaying
and that's
down
why,
the street.
That's why what Dean Corll did is actually quite remarkable, because it's extremely difficult to kill and shoot people in Texas because they're always zigzagging.
Yes.
So it's tough. It's tough to hit them.
Now, even though David was bringing in victims here and there for Dean Corll, the problem with David is that most people didn't really like him. Like, this is what one fellow teenager said about David Brooks.
He wasn't somebody we hung around with or wanted to hang around with. He wasn't all that nice. He didn't talk that much. You just see him driving around the neighborhood in his vet. He never had huffing gas.
Oh, man, what a loser.
A huff of gas is easy to get. You can get it anywhere. I can stick my head underneath the muffler of a car as it's just idling, and I got high as a biscuit.
And biscuits get pretty high in Texas.
If it's in a crow's mouth, anyways, I better get back to huffing this gas.
If it's in a crow's mouth, that's just what they say.
Well,
stop masturbating, please.
Well, not only was Brooks pretty unpopular, he was also kind of an outsider in the Heights, especially compared to Wayne Henley, who had lived in the Heights his entire life. Wayne Henley was trusted. He was a known quantity. He was the type of guy who hung out in the parking lot of Long John Silver's a lot.
And this is when Long John Silver's was like a real restaurant, like Wendy's used to be back in the day.
Oh, Wendy's still is, my friend. And we will. That's the most controversial thing that's ever been said on this show. I will defend Wendy's until the day I'm 6 feet under.
And Wayne, he also wasn't the typical, he was a nice guy but quiet type like Dean was. He was gregarious. He was popular. He was friends with absolutely everybody. And most importantly, he liked to party.
He was the guy who did a lot of woo! Yeah! Woo! Yeah! Woo! Woo! And they're like, that Wayne's a good guy.
Nice, fun guy.
Now, it may not come as a surprise that the kids in the Heights in the early 70s liked to get a little high, and if they had their druthers, they'd go for weed, beer, and lewds, but Police Chief Herman Short was, of course, having none of that, because instead of investing any resources whatsoever into searching for the missing children, which by this point had gotten to be, I'd say, a baker's dozen, or spending any actual time investigating the hundreds of murders that they knew for a fact were happening in the city, Herman Short decided that drug offenses needed to be Houston's top priority.
And you want to know, to be honest, when I look at it, it's just because it is the easiest way to bust black people and hippies.
Absolutely.
And that's what they wanted to do all the time.
A lot of these municipalities, we've talked about it in previous episodes, the cops are an extension of the tax man.
Yeah.
So if you want to make some money for your local precincts and your local community, you just small drug offenses are the way to do it.
And it's also getting votes as well, because you can actually, because busting people for weed and pills is extremely easy,
right?
But solving to murder is pretty fucking hard.
If you pat down 1 out of every 3 people, you're gonna find something illegal on them.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure, especially in the Heights in Texas.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what one teenager said about the mood at the time with the cops.
Jeez Christ, you can rob a bank or beat up an old lady, but if you look like you were holding dope, it was your ass.
Yeah, and I know exactly what that's like. Yeah.
Beating up an old lady or robbing banks? Which one?
Well, no, just being able to fuck up and do anything that you really want, but for some reason, holding a fucking dime bag was the worst possible thing you could do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was in Florida when I would drive back and forth. I had a girlfriend in Atlanta, and I would drive from Tallahassee to Atlanta, and I had long hair and a beard like down to my chest. Like it was awesome. I was awesome.
You were morbidly obese.
Yes.
I think you're trying to paint a different picture.
Yeah, I think so. Actually, when you
I
were
was wearing a dashiki cap.
Yeah, and when you were doing the hand motions to say how big your beard was, I thought you were going to say I had these huge tits.
I did have huge old fucking Pamelas down there. And I was trying. But the cops would pull me over and like, this is Georgia. You get to a point being like, it's just like as soon as they see that you have long hair, they would go through the whole car for weed.
Yeah.
I would like sit there and wait as they check for weed because that's all they wanted to get.
Yeah.
It also sounds like a Twilight Zone episode where you get pulled over. You're like, thank God I'm white. You look in your rearview mirror. You're black.
What?
Oh, my God.
So these kids, instead of just smoking weed and getting groovy, they turn to the last refuge of teenagers in towns with strict drug enforcement, and I will attest to this, huffing paint. When kids can't get fucked up, when they can't get to weed or beer, at least way back in the day, I don't think paint huffing is that big of a...
No, it does not go away. Yeah. Huffing does not go away. Everybody huffs.
I am fairly certain huffing is the only reason that Cops is still on the air. If you ever see an episode where officers arrest somebody who's been huffing paint, it's one of the most phenomenal things you'll ever see.
The tube top is still worn. I feel huffing paint has a lot to do with that. And I did whippets like a year ago.
Oh, yeah. No, we bought so many crackers and things like that to make whippets.
Well, I think they were in the 70s a little... like the social stigma of huffing paint wasn't quite there just yet.
Now it's for the true fucking bottomed out loser.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
Verboten.
Yeah.
You might say.
Yes.
Yeah. But this is what one kid said about paint huffing.
You spray the can in a paper bag and you stick your nose in and huff a few times and everything's different. You talk funny, you don't know where you're at. Sometimes you hear voices that ain't talking. And when you wake up, you huff again and you can keep all night. One of my friends huffed for a whole day and night and he wasn't hurt a bit. But a 12-year-old kid did some acrylics and ran around trying to play football, collapsed and he died. I guess you can get too much of anything.
Even too much of huffing paint and playing football.
Yeah, and I was like, I can't believe there's a ceiling to this because it just seems like the good times never end, everybody.
May I ask who won the game?
What game?
The football. Never mind.
Now, Wayne Henley, he was supposed to be a victim, of Dean Corll.
Right.
But when Dean Corll met him, he immediately saw him. He immediately saw an opportunity here. He immediately saw him like, okay, now this David Brooks kid is okay, but this Wayne Henley, this is the perfect accomplice for me.
Was it a lack of sexual attraction to the kid?
No.
Absolutely
He wanted to
nothing.
fuck Wayne Henley, and
He did.
probably tried to.
Okay.
David Brooks had a more straight up sexual relationship with Dean Corll. David Brooks was with that. What Wayne had even said about David Brooks was that he was playing gay for pay for Dean Corll. Like Dean Corll was paying a little bit. They were kind of fooling around. Wayne Henley got brought in to be one of their sex partners. He said no to that. I just like to party. Eventually, but he kept showing up. So Dean Corll was like hanging out with David Brooks, and Wayne Henley would kind of hang around because they had weed and booze, and they had the pool table, and they had like the boys club hanging out, and he would be there a lot. Now what we're gonna see here is the classic sort of grooming phase. But what I'm gonna posit, and what we're gonna talk about next episode even more so, is how a pedophile murderer, someone like John Wayne Gacy, like how Dean Corll does it, grooms his accomplice as well. Basically, he looked through a sea of people and had learned how to look for the exact traits that he needed, which is somebody with literally nothing to lose, who was a complete and total burnout, that would go ahead and find him a boy for $200.
Every time you said the word groom, I couldn't help but think of how cute a Pomeranian looks with a puppy cut.
You'd be bad in the FBI.
Yeah, very bad.
Well, I've actually got a sound clip here from an interview with Wayne Henley talking about the exact nature of his relationship with Dean Coral.
What did he want you to do? He wanted to pay me to find people and bring them to him, and help him do his thing, and kill him, and help him bury him. Did you pay him? He was going to pay you. How much would he pay you per person? I don't know. He said $1,500 more. $1,500 a person. What he said.
He talks about it like it's boring.
Well,
he has no feelings.
Well, if you actually see the video clip, he's in the back of a police car with his face in his hands holding a cigarette.
Right, yes.
Yeah, I mean, the actual context of it is a little different, and it's very soon after he got caught.
And, of course, he's holding a Marlboro because Big Tobacco never fails to seize an
is
opportunity
the
to
problem.
advertise.
This is what I'm saying.
Think about it.
Jesus, yeah. It's once they switch from girls in bikinis with beach balls, and all of a sudden you have snarled loners smoking cigarettes because they're like, let's play to the audience that loves us.
That's right. That was specific to the Texas audience.
Well, Wayne Henley said that he held off on saying yes to Dean Coral he said he goes between saying he held off for a month to saying that he held off for a year. But in reality, it's more likely for about a month. He's like, I don't think I'm going to bring this guy kids for about $1,500.
But it's because the problem is that if he had said no, but we now know that if he had said no, Dean Coral would have killed him.
Yeah, Dean Coral definitely would. And there's no telling how many kids that Dean Coral made this offer to before Wayne Henley finally said yes.
And what you're going to look at, this is just sort of him letting out the line. He was just letting out the line, letting Wayne kind of figure out but he was definitely going to kill him either way. Like Wayne Henley was going to end up in the fucking boat shed.
I'm not going to give him too much credit for willpower. You know, most people go 90 years with never delivering a child to a sexual sadist who will then have sex with them or sell them into a sex ring, whatever. Most people just die without doing that.
Different strokes for different folks.
Oh, I see. That's
everybody's got everybody's got a hustle, Ben.
Okay, so.
No, I think he was only looking for an excuse, and about a month later, he got that excuse because Wayne Henley, like I said earlier, his stepfather left, and so he had a mom, he had two brothers, and of course his mother couldn't support all of these kids on her meager salary, so Wayne Henley finally had the excuse, I can bring this guy boys, and I can make money for my family.
But I will also say that is a part of what shows Wayne Henley's true colors, as I think it's exactly the things he gave himself permission.
Yeah, right,
and up until at this point is that he had done this. He gave Wayne Henley the same spiel that he gave Brooks, where he said, "We're running heists." So at first they broke into a couple places and stole some things, and then he said, "Oh, actually, I work for this pedophile ring. I work for this child slavery ring." Yeah. And he was like, "Okay," kind of like slowly accepting it until finally he was like, "No, I kill him."
Right.
No, I just kill him, and then you have to. Then it's just too late.
Yeah. And now a quick word from our sponsor. Today's episode of Last Podcast on the Left is brought to you by Casper Mattresses, obsessively engineered American-made mattresses at a shockingly fair price. And now you can get $50 toward any mattress purchase by going to casper.com/LEFT and using the code LEFT. See, Casper brings together two comfy technologies for better nights and brighter days. That's latex foam and memory foam. They've also got a risk-free trial and a wonderful return policy. They'll deliver it straight to your door. You can try it for 100 days, and if you're not happy, they'll pick it back up. That's $500 for a twin-size mattress and $950 for a king-sized mattress. You compare that to industry averages, that's an outstanding price point. So get $50 towards any mattress purchase by going to casper.com/LEFT and using the code LEFT. Terms and conditions apply. And now back to the show. So Wayne Henley's first lure for Dean Coral was 17-year-old Willard Branch, Wayne said that he and Coral picked up the boy and took him back to Coral's apartment under the guise of all of them getting a little baked for the evening.
Think about how much fun that could have been.
Yeah, just getting stoned with a bunch of psychopaths?
Yeah, just Dean Coral just fucking wavering and staring at you the whole time like
Yeah.
you're a fucking lamb flank.
Right.
Yum, yum, yum. Always going like yum, yum, and accidentally spilling like a spice thing on you. Man, uh-oh. Better get some of that off. You don't want you smelling like a Thanksgiving dinner, you know?
That's right.
And after everyone got super high, Coral and Henley, playing out a plan that had been devised beforehand, tricked the boy into putting handcuffs on himself.
So John Wayne Gacy. It's the rope trick.
Yeah, and both Dean Coral and Wayne Henley, their little trick was that they had hidden the key in their pocket. So they both went like, hey, look, this handcuff trick. Oh, my God, I can get out. Both of them did. And this kid's like, yeah, man, I can fucking do that. I can get out of them. Let me try.
Oh, man, I'm stuck. Weird. Guys, oh, that's a cool looking sled.
It is, I gotta say, other than what happens next, it is fun to do when you're stoned.
We did that. We've played with handcuffs stoned and walking around, but that's also 3 consenting adults doing it together, having a good time doing it.
Not about to murder or one another.
No,
or
just having a good laugh.
Yeah.
You remember that one night, and then we played with handcuffs, and then we did Bloody Mary? We were like blackout drunk, and then our buddy Keith came over, and then he passed out in the kitchen, and now he's a physicist.
By definition, because we were blackout drunk, I do not remember. But I think that's a good thing.
So this kid, once he was restrained, he was dragged back to Dean Coral's room as Wayne walked out the door. Wayne returned the next day, where Coral, as promised, gave Wayne $200 for his services, and once again assured him, no, I did not murder that boy.
No, I did not murder the boy. Actually, you just missed the sex slave guys. They were
is that
just
right?
here. And Barney's hilarious. I wish you could. He was telling me this funny story about how this kid was trying to get out of the van, and so he went around him and just fucking shocked him with a cattle prod like you do,
Yeah.
And then he died of a fucking heart attack right in the van. I was like, get the fuck out of here. This guy.
I was here the whole time. I was here the whole time. But I didn't.
Hey, have you seen my sled? I got this new
Oh, is
sled.
that right? Oh, isn't that something? Any more weed around?
So Henley's next lure would be an actual friend of his from Long John Silver's, a teenager named Frank Aguirre. And after Frank's late night shift at Long John Silver's ended one night, Henley convinced him to come back to Dean's to get a little bit wasted. And Frank trusted his friend and, like the boy before, also got locked into the handcuffs. And Henley claims that at this point he had second thoughts about, selling his lifelong friend into sex slavery.
Right. Weird.
Yeah.
That seems crazy. At this point, you're just being like, you have a job now, Wayne.
Right. And the guy who was in the handcuffs was having second thoughts about his career at Long John Silver.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Everyone was overthinking it.
Yeah, Frank was really sick of doing the upsell, telling like, well, if you're going to get the fried cod, then you might as well get the popcorn shrimp.
Why wouldn't you?
Everybody's got different problems at their job.
That's right.
So Henley, he said that he tried to convince Coral to not sell the boy into the sex slavery ring, and this is when Coral decided that it was a good time to tell Wayne that actually, you know what, there actually is no boy slavery ring. I'm totally killing these boys, and also, by the way, I also killed that other lifelong friend of yours that went missing last year.
And Wayne said, huh.
Isn't that something?
Wow.
No shit.
So you mean I've been hoodwinked? No way.
Yeah.
No, and it's true. But then Frank Aguirre, I keep calling it's Aguirre. Aguirre makes it sounds like that Werner Herzog movie, which is pretty fucking.
Sounds
sweet.
like a knife that they sell you on QVC that's sharps that can cut through a hammer and a really cold steak.
It's got a titanium blade for maximum stopping power.
Wow.
But he is It's very interesting how when Frank Aguirre went missing, they were like, there's no way he's going to be gone because number one, he's like a buddy of him owed him $10 straight up. And they're like, and Frank's one to never forget alone.
Yeah.
And then also he had a check waiting for him at Long John Silver's. And he also had a beautiful girlfriend, Rhonda, that was waiting for him to ask her to marry him.
Yeah. And he also left his Rambler, his Dodge Rambler in the parking lot of Long John Silver's.
So I think we can all agree the big winner of the story, Rhonda. Holy hell, what kind of life would that have been?
But we're going to find out that Rhonda didn't exactly win in this scenario because sometimes a good way to get a girlfriend is to kill the boyfriend of the girl that you want to date.
I've seen that. I've heard of that before. It was in The Pickup Artist,
Absolutely, yeah. This is also, but actually at this time, for some reason, it was revealed, like, not only did he kill Frank Aguirre, not only did I kill that boy before, I also killed David Hillegeist as well. Wayne didn't go to the police at all. He didn't tell anybody about this. According to Wayne, he, quote-unquote, really hit it off with Dean because he said that Dean was clean cut, he was smart, he was nicely dressed. He said that Dean listened to him, explained things to him, and he would stay completely loyal for another year until Dean's death.
Now, this is the other thing, too, is that on Last Podcast on the Left, I think we always talk about this. None of us believe in Svengalis. No. I don't believe that somebody can have such a mystical power over somebody that they would never betray them. I think Wayne Henley was in there because he finally had the permission to be the career criminal that he always wanted to be. And now he's like a real Texas outlaw. Like, you get to go and you're roving in this pack of dudes that have like a secret. And he's also never had a real father. Like, his father beat the shit out of him. So he only has his dad he can like, that he can be his henchman to, and he likes being a henchman because he gets all the booze and weed that he wants, and he gets to go around and kind of hold this thing over the head over everybody in town. He's somebody special now.
I do like the booze and weed part, but I think if Dean would have taught him how to install shower curtain rings, he also would have done that for a living.
Yes.
Like, don't you think?
Yes.
Dean had a lot of power.
He needed a father figure.
Right. But Dean could have not led him into the child murder thing.
Yeah. He could have taught him how to make pralines.
Oh, great. I love a good praline.
Absolutely. You could have taught him how to make chainsaw ice sculptures out in the middle of Montana. That would have been lovely.
You got a lot of snow in Texas.
Custom furniture.
Yeah.
Anything else.
There's a lot of options here besides boy murder.
Most other, pretty much anything else.
There's a lot of options. Yeah. You always remember that. If you think you have no other option but boy murder, you could get into hosting a podcast.
Boom. Why not?
Now, around the time that Wayne Henley was added to the duo of Brooks and Coral, Dean turned 30 years old. And Dean had a bit of a quarter-life crisis.
This is a thing that we don't really talk about with Dean Coral because there's not much known really about him because he died before he was even convicted of any of these crimes or we talk about these crimes. But that was a thing that was very interesting. He was very concerned with his age.
Yeah.
And how he looked and how he dressed. And he was always talking with Wayne and Brooks about, like, do I look old? Like, how do I look? He was, like, obsessed with being a child. That's a part of the pedophile mentality, is that you also view yourself because your sexuality stopped when, like, Michael Jackson, we're not gonna do this again.
No,
Michael Jackson wasn't a pedophile.
He enjoyed kids a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
he wanted to show them the childhood he never had. We're not doing it.
I mean, he was like a close friend of him.
He had a pet monkey that he put a diaper on and he hung out with all day long.
Bubbles, the monkey?
Yes.
Bubbles was a friend.
He went to the Grammys with Bubbles.
He had a carousel with his face on all the horses.
Oh, right.
But Dean Coral views himself almost as a young kid. It's like a 15, 16-year-old kid.
Right, exactly.
And the hitting 30 was a big thing. It was a big thing for all of us.
Yes, it was.
And the only thing that you never mentioned when you were hanging out with Dean Coral, you never mentioned his age, and you never mentioned trombones.
Ooh, I'm mad just thinking about trombones myself, and I never.
Why?
I'm just trombones make me mad.
What's wrong with the trombone? They got puffy ear or puffy cheeks coming out of them and everything.
I think it's a dumb instrument.
Oh, it's not a dumb. It's a big band instrument.
All the only thing it can do is appropriately is the sounds of erections going up and going down.
That's all you need.
That is all it can do. It's a slide whistle. It is a glorified slide whistle.
I love trombones.
Everyone loves trombones.
But the reason why he hated it, because kids would give him shit because that's all he did in high school, remember? All he did was make pralines, make squirrel jewelry, and play the trombone all day long.
All day fucking long. Candy and trombones.
Which is very easy to make fun of.
Yeah.
So after 30, Coral withdrew almost completely from the adult world. He only interacted with people other than teenagers when he was at work, and even the people that he worked with didn't have a hell of a whole lot to say about him. The most one of them had to say about him was Now I know where a lot of our nylon cord went.
That's really funny, Daniel. Now, will you please get back to stocking those shelves?
That's a good Texas joke.
And the only other thing that stuck out in their mind was a conversation that same employee had with Dean about the war. And when the conversation turned toward the act of killing an enemy, Dean said,
"Want to kill one, the rest come easy."
Is that what Dean sounded like? I don't think that's what Dean Coral sounded like.
I just imagine with like a curly Q hairstyle in the front of him, like a weird curl plastered to his forehead. Yeah. Well, that was the thing. I think someone posted on the Facebook page being like, Dean Coral's kind of hot. It's like, no, he didn't. He had a skeleton stare. He couldn't blink.
No, he's not hot. There's nothing hot about Dean Coral.
No, he was absolutely terrible.
But yeah, he talked about killing all the time, but he served in Vietnam, and he didn't do a goddamn thing in Vietnam.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was talking about killing boys, but the coworker assumed that he was talking about Vietnam. But outside of work, Dean's entire world revolved around Wayne and David. One boy said,
"Nobody ever knew him except David and Wayne. Nobody ever talked about him or asked about him. No one ever would ever say, 'Oh, have you seen Dean lately?' Because Dean didn't matter." And that's a really interesting thing. And the man with the candy also said, with the three of them together, is that it was what's 3 multiplied by 0.
Yeah.
It was 3 zeros. It was 3 people that kind of flitted in and out of society. And it's also very interesting because Dean Coral's behavior sort of reminds me of from been to like a club. It's like that kind of
no, never have.
But you know what I mean? Like when you go to a club and you go and there's a guy sitting on the back in sunglasses that nobody knows, but then for some reason it's all in his dime. Like when you hang out with actors and shit, they're like, "Oh, that's McGuire over there," but don't talk to McGuire. And I'm just like, "Well, what does McGuire do?" And he's just like, "He does."
Yeah, he slips out the back door without paying the bill.
But he's paying for everything. He's one of those guys. He fancied himself now like a party host kind of, and he would come and mix various people together like it was the fucking Andy Warhol's factory, and they would stimulate conversation. But really, he was making a rape thing.
Well, that was the thing about Dean, is that no one even said that Dean was enigmatic.
No.
Like no one, absolutely no one even cared about him. To the point where Dean, Wayne, and David, they would spend their afternoons going to Long John Silver's, hanging out with all the junior high kids, and they would only hang out with the junior high kids.
That's got to be creepy as fuck.
Were there any other restaurants?
Yeah, there was a fried chicken place.
Oh, okay.
The Long John Silver's is the nice one with the booths.
Oh, I see. With the springs in the seats and things.
And Jack Olson, again from The Man with the Candy, he put it absolutely perfectly. He said, "To most people in the Heights, the odd trio was seen only as a hawk is sometimes seen in the woods, a quick silhouette or a subliminal shadow swiftly past."
But it also illustrates something about young guys, right? They were just going to where the party was. They're going where the booze and weed was. They didn't care who was fucking throwing the party. They were showing up because they heard there was a guy that had a fucking pool table and probably as many pralines as you could stomach.
So many pralines.
And but weed and huff and paint and all the stuff that you like, he's got, and you just show up and use it. They were just using him, but they didn't know that it was a gigantic honey trap.
And then there was a room that just was full of trombones, and if you paid $2, you got to go destroy all of them. Yeah. It's kind of fun.
I mean, the phrase that just kept coming up again and again when they asked these kids about Coral and Henley and Brooks, they kept saying, "Who gives a shit?" You know, because they'd say that they'd be hanging out, and Dean he'd only talk to Wayne and David, and he'd say some sort of weird cryptic remark. And
that reminds me of that one time I raped that boy.
What was that?
And they all be like, "Ha ha ha," like laughing like it's a joke. And they're like, "Huh. Anyways," like back to just being like, "Oh, MASH is on."
Huh?
Yeah. And they would just, they'd only really talk to each other. And these kids, they'd say like, "Who gives a shit?" And mostly they didn't give a shit was because they threw these sick ass parties that everyone had a good time at. And they also, they had varying degrees of partying. They had pretty much 2 different kinds of partying. There was the 12 to 14 party that was candies and sodas.
So they had the little X on their hands.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the straight edge parties. Right. But once the kids hit 15, it was grass, pills, booze, glue, and paint. It was the absolute perfect trap. But not all the boys were invited. Close friends of Wayne, who'd known him for his entire life, were almost never invited. And in fact, the parties were mostly populated by boys that they hardly knew. But again, as the same kid said, who gives a shit.
It's really true. I remember this one quote from the man with the candy. He said, he was like, yeah, it's like Wayne was always talking about these parties. You had all free booze and weed stuff. He's like, you never invited me, but I could throw the same kind of party in the back of my car. He literally was just like, just as content. And I almost envy that. Being like, you could go and have a great time just getting hammered in the back of a car back in the day.
No, it's not that great a time. That was how my high school was. It wasn't that great of a time.
You enjoy yourself?
No, you would party in the back, and then you would open up the back door, walk to the front, and be like, that was a hell of a party.
Ooh, hell yeah, right? Or let's go home.
Thank God that one's over.
Man, let me take those keys from you. I think you're a little bit too drunk to drive. And it's just like, Donald, you don't have any shoes on, and your shirt's in tatters. So it's like, you know what? You better take the keys. I'm too drunk to drive.
High school, huh?
So more and more kids are disappearing, and some people are starting to notice. And I think what this is that I think, Wayne Henley was in these groups of kids, and they're like, hey, Frank, where the fuck did Frank go? Dave, where the fuck did Dave go?
Right.
And so what they got these kids to start doing, it was the same technique that Leonard Lake and Charles Ng used, where they got these kids to write letters to their parents.
And I have an example of one of the letters that I will read. Mom, I'm sorry I left like I did, but I got a better job working on a truck loading and unloading from Houston to Washington. We should be back within 3 or 4 weeks.